What if I told you the military draft could actually come back? Sounds crazy, right? But it's not totally impossible. The U.S. hasn't had a draft since 1973, but with global tensions rising, some experts think it could make a comeback. From wild historical twists to current political debates, we're digging into what could trigger a draft and what it means for you. Buckle up. This could get intense. Number 1, a brief history of the draft. All right, let's rewind. The U.S. military draft, where did it all begin and why? The story starts in 1940 during World War II, when the government created the Selective Service System through the Selective Training and Service Act. This system was designed to call civilians into military service during times of national need, ensuring the U.S. had enough manpower for war efforts. By the end of World War II, over 10 million Americans had been drafted, a staggering number that highlighted the system's importance during global conflict, but it didn't stop there. The draft continued during the Korean War in the 1950s and the Vietnam War in the 1960s and early 70s. While it helped the military meet its needs, the draft also sparked major controversy, especially during Vietnam. It became a symbol of inequality, as wealthier individuals often found ways to avoid service, leaving poorer and minority communities disproportionately affected. The era was marked by intense protests, with draft cards burned in defiance and chants demanding an end to conscription. By 1973, the pressure was undeniable. The draft was officially abolished, and the U.S. transitioned to an all-volunteer military force. This decision marked a significant shift, emphasizing personal choice over compulsory service and reshaping how Americans viewed military enlistment. It also changed the dynamic within the armed forces, as those serving were now there by choice, not mandate. But here's the kicker. The Selective Service System didn't disappear. It remains active today, requiring men aged 18 to 25 to register as a precaution, just in case another draft is ever needed. While it hasn't been invoked in over 50 years, the framework for a draft is still in place, quietly waiting in the background. These historical twists show how the draft shaped American society, politics, and military strategy, making us wonder, could it ever come back? Number 2, the current state of the U.S. military. Now that we know where the draft came from, let's look at how the U.S. military operates today. Spoiler alert, things are very different from the draft era. Since 1973, the U.S. military has been an all-volunteer force, and it's one of the most powerful and technologically advanced in the world. People join because they want to, not because they're required. And that's led to a more motivated and professional military overall. But here's the catch. Recruitment isn't always easy. In recent years, recruitment numbers have dropped, with fewer young people choosing military service. Some blame it on changing societal values, while others point to stricter eligibility requirements, like health or education standards, that limit the pool of potential recruits. And this creates a challenge. How does the military maintain its strength with fewer people signing up? Here's where modernization comes into play. The U.S. military is investing heavily in technology, from drones to AI systems, making it less dependent on manpower. But even the best tech can't replace people entirely, especially in large-scale conflicts. So, what does this mean for the draft? Right now, the all-volunteer system works. But if recruitment struggles continue or a sudden large-scale conflict emerges, the idea of a draft might not seem so far-fetched after all. 3. Factors that could trigger a draft. So what would it take to bring back the draft? While it may seem unlikely, history has taught us to never say never, Let's break down the key factors that could make it a reality. First, national emergencies. If the U.S. were to face a large-scale war or conflict requiring a massive increase in manpower, the all-volunteer military might not be enough. Think of situations like World War III or a prolonged engagement with a powerful adversary. These are the kinds of emergencies that could push lawmakers to consider reinstating the draft. Then there's the shifting landscape of global threats. Rising tensions with countries like China or Russia, new alliances, or even unexpected crises like cybersecurity wars or space conflicts could all escalate the need for a bigger force. While the U.S. has a strong military, these emerging challenges might stretch resources thin. Finally, let's talk about public and political sentiment. Back in the draft days, protests and pushback against conscription were huge, especially during Vietnam. Today, attitudes toward the draft and military service have shifted. While some believe a draft could promote equality in national service, others argue it infringes on personal freedom. Whether the draft could return depends on how lawmakers and the public view it in the face of a crisis. The bottom line? It's hard to predict exactly what might trigger a draft, but it's not entirely off the table, especially if the world takes an unexpected turn. Number 4. Arguments for and against a draft whenever you are. The idea of reinstating the draft sparks strong opinions, and for good reason. Let's explore the arguments on both sides of this divisive issue. Arguments for the draft. Equity in service. A draft ensures everyone shares the responsibility of defending the nation regardless of background. No more relying on just volunteers. A draft spreads the burden evenly across society. National unity. Some argue that mandatory service fosters patriotism and brings people from diverse walks of life together, creating a stronger sense of collective identity. Preparedness for large-scale conflicts. If the U.S. faces a major war that overwhelms the all-volunteer force, a draft could quickly provide the manpower needed to protect national security. Arguments against the draft. Personal freedom. Critics say conscription infringes on individual rights, forcing people into service regardless of their desires or circumstances. Ethical concerns. Memories of the Vietnam era highlight issues like inequality in conscription, where wealthier individuals often avoided service while others couldn't, a system many argue was unjust. Effectiveness of a volunteer force. Supporters of the all-volunteer military point to its professionalism and motivation, arguing that people who choose to serve perform better than those forced into it. These arguments show the complex balance between personal liberty, equality, and the needs of national defense. Whether the draft returns or stays in the past, one thing's clear. This debate isn't going away anytime soon. 5. The current legal framework. So, if the draft hasn't been used in decades, does it still exist? Technically, yes, and here's how it works. The selective service system is still active and requires all men aged 18 to 25 to register within 30 days of their 18th birthday. By law, if there's ever a need to reinstate the draft, this system provides a ready database of individuals who could be called into service. While it hasn't been used since 1973, the framework is there, waiting for Congress and the President to pull the trigger. But here's the twist. There's been growing debate about who should register. Historically, only men have been required to sign up, but recent discussions have argued for including women in the selective service, reflecting changes in military roles and gender equality. It's a hot-button issue that sparks strong opinions on both sides. Reinstating the draft would also require significant legal steps. Congress would need to pass legislation and the president would need to sign it into law. It's not something that can happen overnight, but the legal groundwork means it's possible. For now, the Selective Service System is a quiet reminder that while the draft feels like a relic of history, it's not entirely gone. So, will there be another American draft? For now, the answer is probably not. But history has a way of surprising us. The all-volunteer military continues to prove its strength. But if recruitment struggles grow or a major conflict arises, the idea of a draft could resurface. It's a delicate balance between national security and individual liberty. On one hand, a draft ensures everyone shares the responsibility of serving their country. On the other, it raises questions about personal freedom, ethics, and equality. And with global tensions rising and technology reshaping the battlefield, the future of conscription remains uncertain. For now, the draft lives in the realm of what if, but it's a conversation worth having because it forces us to think about what it means to serve, sacrifice, and protect. What do you think? Should the draft stay in the past, or could it play a role in America's future? Let's hear your take, because this is a question that touches us all.